Hey guys, before we begin, please check out Fantasy Sabers. The link is first in the description below. Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of the most moral and just Jedi Knights of his era, but it would surprise many to know that he once had a very strong love interest, Satine. When Obi-Wan was only a Padawan learner, he and Qui-Gon spent a year on Mandalore, and Kenobi and Satine fell in love. But then they returned to Coruscant, and Obi-Wan wouldn't see her again until the Clone Wars, where the relationship remained strictly professional. But what if, when they met again, their love rekindled even harder than when they were teenagers? Let's start the story during the first year of the Clone Wars. For the first time in almost 2 decades, Obi-Wan meets Satine again. Upon Duchess Satine arriving on Coruscant, she is attacked by Death Watch, an evil band of Mandalorian mercenaries attempting to seize power for themselves. With the help of Anakin and Obi-Wan, they rescue Satine and ensure her safety. During her time on Coruscant, she and Obi-Wan became inseparable. Kenobi volunteers to continue protection over Satine, arguing that she is still in danger and those hunting her down may come after her again. But in reality, he just wanted to spend more time with her. The two would travel Coruscant together, visiting all of its memorable sites, getting food, and laughing about the past and what is to come in the future. It felt like it did when they were teenagers, and their love rekindled. Before long, Satine confesses her love to Obi-Wan, explaining how she has missed him dearly and doesn't think that she can survive separating again. Obi-Wan nods and agrees. This was very unique for Kenobi, to go against the Jedi Code, to act in secrecy, but he, like Satine, was in love. The war was raging on, and slowly becoming a bigger conflict. Kenobi and Satine knew they would eventually have to part ways, with her going back to Mandalore. But none of them wanted to leave the other. Satine mentions the idea that they could keep their relationship a secret, that no one needs to know of how close they are except them. Kenobi was hesitant, not knowing if he could uphold such a lie, but ultimately he agreed. On her way back to Mandalore, the two got married, confirming their love and dedicating their lives to one another for eternity. When Kenobi and Anakin are deployed to Christophersis, Satine, using her position as Duchess of Mandalore, began the process of making herself closer to Obi-Wan. She reasons with her council, discussing the war and its possible impacts on the world. Her advisors argued that Mandalore is an independent world. If they don't assign allegiances to either side, then they will be left untouched. But Satine laughed at this notion. The separatists are savages, and so far, they have attacked dozens of independent worlds and innocent civilians who don't care about the conflict. Waiting around for the inevitable is stupid. Because of this, Satine urges in front of her council for Mandalore to officially join the Republic. They discuss more, but she gets her point across, and ultimately, Mandalore contacts the Senate and has Chancellor Palpatine come to Mandalore to meet with them. They discuss terms, and Palpatine and Satine sign documents officially declaring Mandalore part of the Republic. Although Satine knew that this would ensure protection for her people, she couldn't help but think of her husband. This was also for him. Part of the negotiations with Palpatine was that Mandalore would provide a senator to engage in the Senate on Coruscant. Satine volunteers, saying that she has driven this campaign and knows politics. She can't let any other Mandalorian leave their home.
Hey guys, before I continue, I'd just like to shout out my saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, where we do high quality replica sabers as well as many unique saber designs. There are RGB or NeoPixel sabers available, the best on the market. Make sure to comment on this video your favorite saber to go in the draw to win a replica, the Sun Saber, marking the first month of our release. The sabers we're showing off this month are Dark Wolf, Kingsguard, and Void Blade, our favorites from the Padawan collection. These are all available in NeoPixel options, and make sure to check them out in the description. Now back to the video.
Upon leaving, she names her sister Bo-Katan, Duchess of Mandalore, and she moves to Coruscant to become Senator of Mandalore. When Obi-Wan returned from Christophersis, he was beyond delighted. Though Kenobi had his quarters at the Jedi Temple, he moved many things to Satine's apartment, and the two officially moved in together. From here, things would move quickly. Mandalore joins the war effort against the Separatists and fights alongside the Republic. Mandalorians would arrive on Coruscant where they would join the Republic army. There were thousands of them, and although there were nowhere near as many clones, each Mandalorian was worth a dozen basic clones. Because of this, the Mandalorians were spread across different clone legions, almost acting as special forces. Kenobi received a lot of Mandalorians who joined the 212th Attack Battalion. They were powerful, and when Kenobi was deployed across the battlefield, their resistance overwhelmed the Separatist droids. This was something the Jedi nor Senate ever thought would happen. Mandalore has been rivals to the Republic for centuries now, and their sudden inclination to join did seem suspicious. But after seeing how effective they are in battle, the High Council could do nothing except be grateful. At the beginning, they met with Satine, who coordinated the transition into the Republic and brought Mandalorians and their gear onto Coruscant. With their help, Obi-Wan won countless battles. Their assistance led to the overrunning of the Citadel, not only rescuing Even Peel, but also destroying the place. The victory on Mon Cala came with ease. Mandalorian forces were deployed to Umbara, where they helped Captain Rex destroy Pong Krell. Everything was succeeding. When Obi-Wan was on Coruscant, he and Satine spent all of their free time together. Their love had grown so strong and powerful, and they both knew they'd made the correct decision in hiding their relationship. Obi-Wan would be deployed as Satine's Jedi protector when she journeyed to different star systems, having already defended her on Mandalore once before. These missions felt like a romantic getaway. Although she would have important business to attend to, whenever these conversations with other senators or world leaders had concluded, the duo had an entire new environment to explore together. Their happiness was at its highest. Kenobi hadn't felt this level of fulfillment since his master was alive. Raising and training Anakin took a lot of energy out of him. Although he loved his apprentice, he did feel an immense sense of fear and worry in his training. He felt as though he was in a constant state of stress, concerned for his well-being and if he was succeeding or not. But now, Anakin's training was complete, and Satine calmed his emotions. Their love knew no bounds. Anakin would eventually become very suspicious of his master and his dealings with the senator. He saw how much time they spent together, and also knew of their scandalous past. It wouldn't be long until Anakin would suspect that the two were seeing each other in secret, as he was with Senator Padme Amidala. Because of Anakin's relationship with Padme, he believed it was very possible for Kenobi to be holding a similar secret. But this was happening in turn with Kenobi's suspicions, who at the time of the Clone Wars believed that something was happening between Skywalker and Amidala. Anakin's suspicions were pretty much confirmed when Satine became pregnant with Obi-Wan's child. Although the senator kept the identity of the father hidden, Anakin knew deep down. A few weeks later, Satine would be captured by the Death Watch on her way back to Mandalore, where she tries to send a distress signal to the High Council before getting taken by Pre Vizsla. As Obi-Wan heard her screams before she was taken, he had to settle his emotions. He was sitting in the council chambers, his blood boiling and his hatred rising. His wife had been taken, and she was pregnant with his child. Kenobi volunteers to bring her home. This was expected. Kenobi had accompanied her on many missions, and although the council didn't suspect romantic ties, they knew there was a friendship between the two. When they leave session, Anakin joins his master before he leaves for his mission. Anakin can immediately sense the conflict within him. He knows his anger is surging and that he desires to bring her home. Kenobi spoke in quick sentences, almost trying to speed through the conversation with Anakin in order to hit hyperspace. The quicker he does that, the quicker Satine comes home. As Anakin continues to speak to Obi-Wan, Kenobi's frustration is released and he tells Anakin he must leave. Skywalker thinks for a moment. Although he doesn't know for sure that they were in a relationship, he had a strong inclination. He tried to envision how his master must be feeling. If it were Padme that had been taken, he would destroy the entire galaxy to bring her home. Anakin felt a sense of duty to ensure that his master settled his emotions. As Kenobi marched away, Anakin calls out one last time and says that he knows. Obi-Wan pauses as Anakin closes the distance. He places a hand on his master's shoulder and says that he knows about he and Satine and their relationship. Kenobi was in shock and didn't know how to process this exposure. He stumbles on his words, but Anakin gives his master a short speech about how he needs to contain his emotions, to not let his feelings get the better of him and make foolish decisions. When Obi-Wan asked how he found out, Anakin would reveal his relationship with Padme, explaining that he has the same secret. At this moment, the trust and bond between master and apprentice will reach its peak. Obi-Wan, stunned as he could be, asks his apprentice to join him on this mission and bring his wife home. Meanwhile, Death Watch have successfully taken over Mandalore. They have sided with the Separatists and the aid of droids, alongside many Mandalorian warriors being off-world fighting alongside the Clone Wars, allowing the Dark Clan to invade Sundari and take control of the planet. As Obi-Wan's 212th combined with Skywalker's 501st, they created an extremely powerful Republic army. What ensued was the Siege of Mandalore, only earlier in the war than from the original timeline. The Jedi's troops launch into battle and fight the Separatists. Anakin and Obi-Wan would survey the battle as they focus their senses to find Satine. Following the dark side, they arrived in the throne room of the battle as the Siege of Mandalore rained chaos beyond the windows. Entering the room, they locate Dooku surveying the battle as he welcomes them. Kenobi asks where the senator is, to which Dooku laughs, almost mocking the Jedi. They each ignite their blades as they strike. The Sith Lord immediately sensed the conflict in Obi-Wan and how his attachment to this mission was greater than any other mission. As Dooku places Anakin on the defensive and Kenobi on the offensive, reversing their innate fighting styles, the Count locates Kenobi's thoughts dwelling on Senator Kryze. Daunting Obi-Wan, he explains that he must have special feelings towards the senator, and perhaps he is even the father of the child within her. As the Sith cackles, he wonders what the Jedi Council will say when they find out. This results in Obi-Wan having an outburst of anger, and he uses this to fuel him in the battle. But this places him off balance, and Dooku almost kills him, but Anakin is able to block the strikes piercing Kenobi's defenses. As clones rush into the room and fire at Dooku, he is surrounded, and he leaps out the window and onto his ship as it flies past. He has escaped and he leaves the planet, noticing the Republic forces breaching their defenses. After Dooku escaped, the Republic forces overran the Separatists. With Kenobi at the helm, leading the 212th and Mandalorian forces, they locate Pre Vizsla and Satine. Kenobi immediately engages Vizsla, and his superior Jedi powers allow him to kill the Death Watch leader and make the Darksaber drop to the floor. With his death, Satine was successfully located and rescued, and the people of Mandalore breathe a sigh of relief. Behind closed doors, Obi-Wan would greet his wife with tears in his eyes. For a moment, he thought he'd lost her forever. As they stand before the people of Mandalore, Senator Satine gives the hilt of the Darksaber to Obi-Wan, announcing to their people that there is no one more deserving of the weapon than the very person who liberated their planet from evil and ensured everyone's protection. Kenobi would accept this weapon graciously as he ignites it and places it above his head, causing cheers from the crowd. Mandalore's relationship with Kenobi was the strongest out of any off-worlder. They treated him as an honorary Mandalorian, and the Jedi Master adhered to his title graciously. He was forever thankful and proud to be recognized by these people. By this point, many of the Mandalorian people had begun to believe there's a relationship between him and Satine, and the propaganda posters and videos on the HoloNet depict the Senator and Jedi together as more than just colleagues. The married couple didn't know how to respond to this, simply laughing along with all the chaos. But deep down, it only enhanced the relationship. Obi-Wan was ecstatic to get Satine back. Everything was going normal. They return to Coruscant, where they are welcomed as heroes. Kenobi and Skywalker head to the council chambers to report to the High Council. After giving a detailed report on the battle and their encounter with Dooku where he escaped, Windu confronts Kenobi about the rumors they have seen of him and Senator Kryze. The council not only brings up several examples of this from the HoloNet and his suspicious reaction alongside Satine, Anakin gets worried very quickly as he stands next to his master receiving this belittling. The council are fierce and they speak to the Jedi Master as if they know it's true, not asking him what the false narrative is. Obi-Wan is a moral Jedi, and his good graces can't allow him to lie directly to the council like this. He has hidden his marriage from them, but never before has he lied directly to their faces. When Yoda asks for a specific answer, Kenobi reluctantly tells him that it's true, and he is married to the senator as well as the father to her child. The council is bewildered. Ki-Adi-Mundi announces his disappointment in Obi-Wan as Adi Gallia mentions how she thought of him as one of the most noble and honorable of all the Force users. Everyone is incredibly displeased and Obi-Wan can do nothing but just stand there and take his punishment. But Anakin is revolted. He witnesses the outrage of the council and because of its hypocrisy, he doesn't agree with it. He stands with his master, his friend. As Anakin visibly twitches in his place, Windu spits at Anakin, asking the boy if he has anything to add. When Anakin says he does, he reveals his relationship with Padme, essentially aligning himself with Obi-Wan to reduce the embarrassment and hate towards his master. He did what a true apprentice and friend would do. Even though the council are now absolutely disgusted with the pair of them, there isn't anything they can do. If they expel the Chosen One and his master, the public perception of the Jedi during a time of war will make them look vulnerable. Their only option is to keep this knowledge hidden, even from the rest of the Order, as it would cripple and cause cracks. Over the following weeks, Anakin and Obi-Wan grow very close. Their bond has never been so strong, and their friendship is at its peak. Both couples begin to spend a lot of time together, most nights actually, as they sneak around the planet and become the closest of allies. Padme and Satine become very close, both senators with strong morals and values in their own right. Their personalities synced perfectly. Padme would discover that she is pregnant around the same time that Satine gives birth to a baby boy, whom their parents named Jin, in respect of Obi-Wan's master and the friend Satine met on Mandalore all those years ago. In this story, Palpatine's relationship with Anakin is still strong, but the Sith Lord quickly realizes that the Chosen One's bond with Kenobi has grown so strong that it is almost unbreakable. He's watched from the shadows and learned the truth about both of their marriages and children, with Padme's on the way. Accepting the fact that he's never gonna be able to turn Anakin to the dark side, he changes his strategy. He uses their marriage to their advantage, knowing that Obi-Wan and Padme are the anchor to the light for Anakin, and to sever this connection, he must eliminate both of them. Palpatine hires assassins with blue and green colored lightsabers to kill Obi-Wan and Padme. As they arrive at Padme's apartment, where the four of them are hanging out as usual, 6 bounty hunters enter from all sides. They ignite the blades that Sidious gave them, each expelling green and blue tints. The Jedi didn't know what to think, but both Force users ignite their blades and compel their wives to stand back. One hunter leaps for Satine, swinging with all of his might. No technique or any sense that he knew what he was going to do, just a pure desire to kill. Kenobi throws his blade across the room to get the threat away from the mother of his child. They clash blades with the intruders, trying to understand the attack before them. It was clear from the onset that they weren't Jedi. The way they moved, their inadequate fighting tactics, it couldn't be a Jedi. Anakin and Obi-Wan would simultaneously strike down all 4 of them, causing the other 2 to flee to safety. After ensuring that their wives were okay, the duo immediately knew that someone had set them up. Skywalker mentions Dooku, explaining that only he would have access to so many Jedi sabers to give bounty hunters. Kenobi agreed, but this concerned him how the war had made the Republic so ambiguous that anyone could sneak onto the planet. Though the girls were relatively stoic after almost being killed, the Jedi were the most spooked. In their mind, their roles as Jedi have caused the people whom they desire to protect the most to be in danger. Anakin and Obi-Wan ultimately decide that remaining as Jedi is only gonna bring more harm than good. Their wives are now under threat. The war continues to loom as it stands. They can't win it by attempting to remain under the Jedi Code. Obi-Wan explains that he and Anakin need to go to Sereno to investigate Dooku. He is the key behind the war, and to earn victory, they need to destroy him. Anakin and Obi-Wan knew that this line of thought took them to dark places. They ultimately decide that it is best if they leave the Jedi Order. Remaining only endangers their wives and limits their ability to do whatever is necessary to win the war. Since each of them took on relationships, their loyalty to the Jedi has faded. This doesn't mean they aren't entirely acting under the light side of the Force, but their desire to remain under a strict set of codes, which in their minds, they have already proven to themselves that they don't need to remain good, is now severely diminished. The following day, the two Jedi generals leave the Order, sending shock waves throughout the ranks. From here, Padme and Satine go to Mandalore, believing that's the safest place for them, whilst Anakin and Obi-Wan were off-world. The former Jedi would take transport ships and travel to Sereno. As they arrive, they sneak past all of Dooku's security droids and enter his castle. Dooku was a noble man. When he left the Order a decade ago, it was believed that he simply returned to Sereno and inhabited his castle and all his riches. It was severely unclear how far the once Jedi had fallen. Locating his office, the duo sprint in, trying to evade capture. Dooku's office is home to artifacts, texts, and a gigantic glass window overlooking the landscape of the planet. Against the backdrop of the window, Dooku's desk with multiple screens faces the window. As they search his hollow screens, they search for anything they can. He has dozens of files, each containing various things. Within one, Anakin finds a file named Cloners, which intrigued the Jedi a lot, but as they open the file and reveal its secrets, the door to his office opens and the Count marches himself in. His blade was already ignited, its crimson plasma creating an aura in the room. Dooku had been informed by a Jedi who could see the Jedi in his office through the window from the ground below. Dooku asked the Jedi to stand back. It isn't nice to snoop through others' property. Kenobi and Skywalker knew that this was their best chance to defeat Dooku, and they truly believed they had the power to do so. Leaping forward, the fight commences. Dooku immediately operates with efficiency, his Form 2 fighting style perfect for lightsaber combat. He places Anakin on the defensive and forced Obi-Wan to take the offensive, reversing their innate roles to place them in a state of unease. He was a smart fighter, compelling and elegant, but Anakin was the chosen one, and he fought with grit and determination. The battle was level, as neither side could break the other's defenses. As Kenobi advances attacks, the large window smashed and three Night Sisters enter and ignite their Jedi's lightsabers. The three Force users were completely taken aback, and Dooku felt a drop of sweat drip down his back. As they engaged in the duel, everyone fought for their lives. Without realizing, the Night Sisters almost teamed up with the former Jedi. Killing Anakin or Obi-Wan wasn't their objective, but they wished to murder Dooku. As Dooku attempted to defend all of his angles, he eventually leaves one open and Obi-Wan slices through and destroys his saber, leaving him defenseless. As Kenobi goes to deliver the killing strike, Dooku uses Force Lightning to break his computer, ensuring that with his death, the Jedi can't discover his secrets. Obi-Wan kills Dooku and the Night Sisters flee, their task complete. They pause, allowing the recent events to sink in. Anakin and Obi-Wan realize that there's more behind this war than they thought. Although they didn't get to search the Cloners file, this news revealed that the Sith was somehow involved with the clone army. Obi-Wan remembers back to Dooku telling him years ago that the Sith are in control of the Republic. He always thought he was lying to probe a reaction from the Jedi. But what if he was telling the truth? They know they need to go to Kamino to investigate, but now they don't have the same jurisdiction as they did when they were Jedi. As they contemplate what to do next, Obi-Wan receives a call from Satine, who is in a state of panic, explaining that the Dathomirian brothers have launched an invasion with the Black Sun and Pike Syndicate onto Mandalore. They return to the world to intervene. The Mandalorians were able to provide strong protection for the planet. Their fighters were far more capable than the Pikes or Black Sun soldiers, but Maul and Savage were incredibly powerful. They were the true danger. Kenobi and Skywalker arrive, ensuring their wives are safe before joining the battle. Because of Kenobi's involvement with Satine, Mandalore has endured an extremely difficult time during the war. The siege of Mandalore has commenced for real this time, and it felt as though they were on the brink of extinction. As Anakin and Obi-Wan locate the Dathomirian brothers on the streets of the city, commanding their troops with vigor, the Jedi leap into combat. Their dueling abilities had only increased over the recent months from multiple duels against the most powerful adversaries. This was little compared to what they had faced previously. Savage would quickly be struck down and Maul placed on the defensive. With Savage dead, Maul's anger would increase, leaving him vulnerable. Kenobi felt a sense of nostalgia. Although this time he was the calm and collected fighter, whereas previously his emotions were wild after Qui-Gon's death. Maul couldn't withstand this level of pressure, and Anakin sliced through his lightsaber as Kenobi force-pushed Maul to the floor. They each pressed their lightsabers forward to his throat, commanding his surrender. Obi-Wan would ask Maul who Darth Sidious is, knowing that as his apprentice, Maul would know his true identity. As Anakin repeats the question, Maul quite literally shudders at the verbal recognition of the name, Sidious. It was clear he knew something. The Jedi ask again and Maul pleads for them to stop, asking if his old master is watching from the shadows. This confused the generals, but they pressed their questions further. Kenobi asked if Sidious is in control of the Republic, to which Maul smirks, saying that he is behind everything. They don't understand how much danger the Republic is truly in. There is no hope in stopping him. He essentially gives them the same speech he gave Ahsoka during the Clone Wars, explaining that very soon Sidious's endgame will commence and the Republic will fall. Obi-Wan asks for the Dark Lord's help to help them say who Sidious is before it's too late. Maul asks why he would want them to stop him, to which Obi-Wan taunts him, saying that he doesn't have a place in Sidious's galaxy and he would cast him aside, ensuring his death. Maul thinks on this. It is true that if Sidious takes over the galaxy, he would kill him. This was his motivation for going after Sidious in Season 7. So when the Jedi offer him this proposal, he actually thinks it may work. Sidious would be distracted with the Jedi and would never think to consider Maul working with them. He knows there's no hope of rejoining his side, especially if he can't capture a single planet like Mandalore. Maul agrees to tell them who he really is, if they can promise his protection. Together, the three of them return to Coruscant as the Pikes and Black Sun accept defeat and the Mandalorians rebuild. Anakin and Obi-Wan bring Maul to the Jedi Council for him to reveal the nature of the Sith Lord. Even though Anakin and Obi-Wan weren't Jedi, they knew that the Council was the best equipped to handle this knowledge. They tell the Council everything they have learned over the recent weeks, starting from Dooku's office, the mention of the clone army, though they still didn't know how it factored into everything, and finally, how Maul is willing to explain the identity of the Sith Lord, as long as he is promised the protection and immunity. The Jedi were suspicious, not fully believing Maul, and they definitely didn't trust him. Windu asks Maul who Sidious is, and as Maul goes to open his mouth, Palpatine walks in with the Coruscant Guard. This was highly unusual for the Chancellor to enter the council chambers whilst in session, especially with clones. Palpatine demands to know why the prisoner wasn't brought to him first. He is a Republic war criminal and not the property of the Jedi. Windu states that he is a Sith, the Jedi's enemy for thousands of years, so they must deal with him. Palpatine shuts Windu down, imploring the council to recognize that he's under the jurisdiction of the Senate and will answer to them. Palpatine asks for Maul to be put back inside his cage before he can spout any other lies. But as this confrontation plays out, Obi-Wan and Anakin notice the fear on Maul's face as they look back and forth between him and Palpatine. Obi-Wan asks what's wrong, as Maul points towards Palpatine and tells them all to run, that Palpatine is Sidious and they must kill him now before he attacks. Palpatine smirks and tries to laugh it off, telling everyone that Maul is obviously crazy and acting. But the council aren't stupid and know they must take every allegation seriously, especially against a man whom the council already believes is in collusion with the separatists. The Jedi Masters rise from their chairs, some igniting their lightsabers. Palpatine lowers his gaze, his hatred fueled by Maul's incompetence. As the Jedi move forward, Palpatine force chokes Maul to his death and executes Order 66, all in the blink of an eye. He leaps back as dozens of clones surge forth and fire at the Jedi. An all-out battle commences as Yoda, Windu, Obi-Wan, and Anakin chase after Palpatine. As the Sith Lord closes the door to the chamber elevator, the Jedi slice their way in. As the elevator goes down, the 5 of them battle with all of their might. It was extremely close, Palpatine using all 7 forms of lightsaber combat. As they reach the bottom, Yoda gets a glimpse of the gigantic battle unfolding in the temple as thousands of clones fire at the Jedi. Palpatine wasn't even trying to fight the Jedi anymore. He was simply trying to create space and get away from them, knowing that he wasn't strong enough to defeat them. But he was unable to get away, and Windu locks him in place with the Force as Obi-Wan slices him through the heart and kills him. The Dark Lord was dead. From here, the Jedi would rush and defend the temple. With the entire council on Coruscant and neither Palpatine nor Anakin were fighting on the side of the Sith, the defense of the temple would be successful. Despite this, the Order's numbers were significantly reduced to around 1,000 members from its original 10,000. Yoda and Windu go to the Senate with Organa's help and reveal Palpatine's true identity and his plans of Order 66 with aspirations of taking over the galaxy. Order 65 is executed and the Senate begins to rebuild the Republic. As for the Jedi, Windu, Yoda, and Plo Koon were the only surviving council members, excluding Obi-Wan and Anakin, who had left the Order. They begin the daunting task of rebuilding the Order, knowing that it would take many centuries to return to their previous level of power and influence. Kenobi and Skywalker return to Mandalore where they see their wives again after weeks of seclusion. They were the happiest men in the galaxy. Now each of them fathers, they spent their time ensuring peace for their family. Anakin and Obi-Wan decide to build their own Jedi Order, believing that acting in the light doesn't require the complete separation from loved ones, relationships, and attachments. This new Jedi Order allows all of that, and they would work hard to achieve balance in the Force. Padme and Satine would help them in their endeavor, even providing a temple for them on the outskirts of Mandalore. The future was bright. Obi-Wan and Satine were extremely happy. They would welcome an additional 3 children to their family to join Jin. Kenobi knew that he had made the correct decision in marrying Satine all those years ago, and that his future was extremely promising. The galaxy was safe. But most importantly, his family and wife were protected, all because he followed the will of the Force.
Ignite your imagination with fantasy sabers.
If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If Padme Gave Birth During the Clone Wars and What If Darth Vader Cloned Padme. Please check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, for the largest collection of replicas, Padawan sabers, and many more. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.